They brought the cake in with the candles already lit. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was acting warm. Everyone was pretending. My hands were shaking, but not from joy. Deep inside, something felt wrong, even before I took the first bite. Because that Christmas night, while I was still thanking God for letting me see another holiday, my own family was quietly setting up the paperwork that would take everything I owned. My name is Frank Wilson. I'm 64 years old, and I learned the hard way that betrayal doesn't always come with shouting or anger. Sometimes it comes with cake, hugs, and soft Christmas music playing in the background. Before you see what happens next in my life story, subscribe to this channel. And while you're here, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, your city or country, and if you've ever trusted family and lived to regret it. Christmas Eve used to mean peace to me. A full house. Warm food. Quiet gratitude. But that year, Christmas Eve meant something else entirely. It meant weakness. I had just been discharged from the hospital 3 days earlier. Heart complications. High blood sugar. Doctors using words like unstable and monitor closely. I wasn't supposed to be alone. That's what they told me. So when my family insisted I come stay at the house for Christmas, I agreed. Not because I wanted to. Because I was tired. And because when you're sick at my age, you don't argue as much as you used to. That house wasn't just a house. It was my house. Bought 30 years ago. Paid off with overtime, missed birthdays, and a body that never quite recovered from years of hard work. But I let them come. I let them help. I trusted them. Big mistake. They arrived that afternoon carrying bags, gifts, and smiles that felt just a little too wide. My daughter hugged me tight. My son patted my shoulder. My sister kept saying how blessed we were. No one mentioned paperwork. No one mentioned lawyers. No one mentioned property. Yet, I remember sitting in my favorite chair, the one near the window, watching the snow fall outside. The room smelled like cinnamon and baked sugar. Christmas songs played softly in the background. It looked perfect. But my chest felt heavy, and not just because of my heart. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt like I was being watched. Like decisions were being made without me in the room. Dinner came and went. They didn't let me lift a finger. Just rest, Dad. Just relax, Frank. You've done enough. Those words should have sounded kind. Instead, they sounded final. Then came the cake. A big chocolate cake. My favorite. Candles flickering. Phones out recording. They sang. I smiled. I made a wish. I wished for peace. After the cake, my medications hit me harder than usual. My vision blurred. My head felt heavy. That's when my daughter gently said, "Dad, maybe you should lie down." I didn't argue. They helped me to the bedroom. Tucked me in like I was a child again. Kissed my forehead. And then my son said something strange. "Tomorrow, everything will be taken care of." At the time, I thought he meant breakfast. Or my prescriptions. Or follow-up appointments. I didn't know he meant my house. My land. My savings. I drifted in and out of sleep. At one point, I heard voices in the hallway. Low. Serious. No laughter. I heard papers shuffling. A pen clicking. Then someone said, "Make sure he signs while he's calm." I tried to sit up. My body wouldn't respond. Another voice replied, "He trusts us. He won't question it." That's when fear finally cut through the medication fog. I forced my eyes open. My daughter stood by the bed holding a folder. My sister stood behind her. My son avoided my eyes. "Dad," my daughter said softly, "this is just something temporary." She placed the papers on the bed. "Just sign. It's for your protection." I asked what it was. She smiled and said, "Nothing serious." I didn't have my glasses. My hands were trembling. I hesitated. And that hesitation annoyed them. My son stepped forward. Dad, don't make this difficult. We're doing this for you. For me. Those two words echoed in my head. I asked again what I was signing. This time, my sister answered. It's just so we can manage things if something happens. Something happens. At my age, that phrase means one thing. Death. I should have said no. I should have asked for a lawyer. I should have waited until morning. But I was tired. Weak. And surrounded by people I had trusted my whole life. So I signed. One signature. That's all it took. They smiled again. Tucked the papers away. Turned off the light. Sleep well, Dad? I slept. Christmas morning came quietly. No music. No laughter. When I walked into the living room, everyone was already dressed. Serious. Busy. Boxes were stacked near the door. I asked what was going on. My son looked at his phone and said, We need to head out. Lots to do. I noticed something missing. The framed deed on the wall. The folder where I kept important documents. My safe, open. My heart started racing. I asked where my papers were. My daughter finally looked at me. Cold. Detached. And she said the words that still haunt me. Dad, the house isn't yours anymore. That's when I realized. The cake wasn't a celebration. It was a distraction. And Christmas night wasn't about family. It was about theft. Dad, the house isn't yours anymore. For a moment, I honestly thought I had misheard her. The words didn't make sense. They floated in the air like smoke, refusing to settle. I laughed. A weak, confused laugh. That's not funny, I said. What are you talking about? No one laughed back. My son finally looked up from his phone. We transferred everything last night, he said casually, like he was talking about changing a cable plan. Transferred. That word hit harder than any diagnosis I'd ever received. I felt my chest tighten. My heart started pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. You can't do that, I said. This is my house. My daughter sighed, slow and controlled. Dad, legally, it's not. She walked over to the table and placed a copy of the papers in front of me. That's when I saw my signature. My name. At the bottom of every page. My hands started shaking so badly I had to sit down. What did you make me sign? I asked. My sister crossed her arms. A power of attorney. And a property transfer, she said flatly. It was necessary. Necessary. I flipped through the pages, my vision blurring. Words like irrevocable, immediate effect, full authority jumped out at me. I had worked my entire life for that house. 30 years of early mornings, overtime, missed holidays. And with one pen stroke, it was gone. You tricked me, I whispered. My son snapped back. No one tricked you. You signed willingly. Willingly. While medicated. Without my glasses. Without explanation. I stood up, my legs weak but fueled by panic. You did this on Christmas, I said. You planned this. My daughter looked away. Dad, please don't make this harder than it has to be. Harder. I walked toward the hallway, toward my bedroom. My son stepped in front of me. Where are you going? To my room, I said. He shook his head. That room belongs to us now. That's when it finally broke me. I shouted. I demanded. I begged. I reminded them of everything I'd done for them. College tuition. Down payments. Bailing them out when they failed. My daughter's voice went cold. You're being dramatic. Dramatic. She handed me a folded piece of paper. Here, she said. This is the address where you'll be staying. I stared at it. A small apartment. 45 minutes away. Not even in my name. You expect me to leave? I asked. My sister nodded. Today. Christmas morning. They didn't even wait until New Year's. I felt dizzy. I grabbed the edge of the table to keep from falling. I need time, I said. At least a few days. My son checked his watch. We already scheduled movers. That's when I heard it. The sound of strangers outside. Heavy footsteps. Boxes being unloaded. Movers. In my driveway. I walked to the window. Men I'd never seen before were carrying boxes out of my house. My furniture. My memories. One of them lifted the recliner I used every evening. The chair my wife used to tease me about before she passed away. I yelled for them to stop. They ignored me. Dad, my daughter said softly, please don't cause a scene. A scene. In my own home. I collapsed back into the chair. That's when I noticed something else missing. The photo of my wife from the mantel. Where is her picture? I asked quietly. My daughter hesitated. It's packed. Packed. Like she was just another object. I felt something snap inside me. I stood up straighter this time. My voice steadied. You're throwing me out, I said. On Christmas. My son shrugged. It's business. Business. Family turned business. I walked toward the door. No one stopped me. Outside, the cold air burned my lungs. Snow crunched under my shoes. I stood there watching my life get loaded into a truck. A mover approached me. Sir, where should we place these? I looked at him. Then at my son. My son answered. Take them to the storage unit. He doesn't need them right now. Like I wasn't even there. I felt my phone buzz. A notification from my bank. Account access changed. Then another. Withdrawal alert. That's when fear turned into rage. I walked back inside. You emptied my accounts too? I demanded. My daughter looked annoyed. We consolidated everything. It's more efficient. Efficient. I asked how much they took. She didn't answer. I asked again. My sister finally said, all of it. Everything. Retirement. Emergency savings. The money my wife and I had put away for decades. Gone. I felt sick. You left me with nothing, I said. My daughter corrected me. We left you with enough to get by. Enough. They handed me an envelope. Inside was cash. A few $100s. Allowance. That's when I realized something even worse. They didn't just steal my property. They erased my authority. My dignity. My identity. I wasn't a father anymore. I was a problem they had solved. As I stepped out of the house for the last time, I turned around. I looked at the doorframe where I had marked my kids' heights growing up. The porch where my wife and I used to sit in the evenings. My daughter closed the door behind me. Locked it. I stood there in the snow, holding an envelope of cash and an address to a place that wasn't home. Christmas bells rang in the distance. And that's when I made a decision. They thought I was weak. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. I spent that first night sitting on the edge of a borrowed bed, staring at walls that didn't know my name. The apartment they sent me to was small. Too quiet. It smelled like fresh paint and cheap cleaner, not memories. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my daughter's face when she said the house wasn't mine anymore. Not angry. Not guilty. Relieved. That hurt more than the theft. I checked my wallet. Driver's license. Insurance card. Old photos folded and worn. My phone buzzed again. Another bank notification. Account locked. I tried logging in. Denied. That's when panic fully set in. I was 64 years old, broke, homeless in my own city, and legally powerless. But somewhere between fear and anger, something else woke up. Clarity. They had planned this carefully. But no plan is perfect. And I had one advantage they didn't expect. I remembered everything. The next morning, I walked 2 blocks in the cold to a small diner. The kind of place where coffee refills come without asking and nobody rushes you. I ordered the cheapest breakfast on the menu. Eggs, toast, black coffee. I sat there for almost an hour, just thinking. Not panicking. Not crying. Thinking. What exactly had I signed? When had it been notarized? Who had witnessed it? Why the rush? Those questions mattered. I asked the waitress for a phone book. She looked at me like I was crazy, but she brought one. I flipped through until I found what I needed. An elder law attorney. I circled 3 names and picked the one closest to me. The receptionist answered with a bored voice. I need help, I said. My family took my property. She paused. Were you coerced? That single word made my throat tighten. Yes, I said. I was sick. Medicated. She told me to come in that afternoon. The office was modest. No marble floors. No gold plaques. The attorney was a woman in her late 50s. Sharp eyes. Calm voice. She listened. I told her everything. The hospital. The medication. The Christmas night. The cake. The signatures. She didn't interrupt. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Do you know what time those documents were signed? She asked. Late, I said. After dinner. I was barely awake. She nodded. Do you remember a notary? I thought hard. No, I said. Just my family. That's when her expression changed. Slow. Interested. Do you know, she said, that in this state, a power of attorney signed under medication without independent counsel can be challenged? My heart skipped. She continued. And property transfers require proper notarization and witnesses. Family members don't count. For the first time since Christmas, I felt something close to hope. She asked for copies of the documents. I didn't have them. But I knew where they were. Back at the house. She smiled slightly. That's okay, she said. We can request them legally. She slid a form across the desk. Sign this, she said. This gives me permission to act on your behalf. I hesitated. She noticed. This time, she said gently, I'll explain every word. She did. I signed. When I left her office, I wasn't powerless anymore. That afternoon, she sent certified letters to my son and daughter demanding copies of every document. By evening, my phone rang. My son. I didn't answer. He texted instead. Why are you involving lawyers? I didn't respond. The next day, my daughter called. Her tone had changed. Dad, let's not make this ugly, she said. Ugly. It already was. I just want what's fair, she added. Fair. I hung up. 2 days later, the documents arrived. My attorney called me in immediately. She spread them out on her desk. Page by page. Line by line. Then she tapped one section with her pen. This, she said, is your opening. The notary stamp. It was dated Christmas morning. But the time listed was 8:30 a.m. I laughed. Impossible, I said. I was asleep. And they were already moving my stuff. She nodded. And the notary's license number, she added, belongs to someone who died 3 years ago. I stared at her. Dead? I asked. Dead, she confirmed. Forgery. Fraud. Felony-level mistakes. My family hadn't just betrayed me. They'd broken the law. My attorney smiled for the first time. They rushed, she said. And that's where they failed. She filed an emergency injunction that same day. By the end of the week, a judge froze the property transfer and locked all related accounts. My phone buzzed nonstop. Voicemails. Texts. Missed calls. Angry. Panicked. My son left a message. Dad, you're ruining everything. I deleted it. My daughter sent a text. We can talk. I didn't respond. Because now, the conversation was going to happen in court. And for the first time, they weren't in control. I was. The courthouse smelled like old paper and disinfectant. The kind of place where voices echo and secrets don't stay hidden for long. I sat on a hard wooden bench, hands folded, watching my family walk in. They didn't sit near me. My son wore a suit that was too expensive for someone who claimed I had nothing left. My daughter avoided my eyes. My sister whispered in her ear, confident, almost smug. They still thought this was under control. The judge entered. Everyone stood. And just like that, Christmas was no longer a holiday. It was evidence. My attorney began calmly. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse. She let the documents speak. She described my medical condition, the hospital discharge papers, the medication list. Then she turned to the judge. "Your Honor," she said, "these documents were signed while my client was impaired, without independent counsel, without proper notarization, and under clear family pressure." My son's attorney jumped in. He called it family assistance. He said they were protecting me. Protecting. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Then why?" the judge asked. "Was the property transferred permanently?" Silence. My daughter's attorney tried to recover. "They believed it was in his best interest." The judge leaned forward. "Belief is not law." My attorney handed over the notary report. The courtroom went quiet. "Your Honor," she said, "the notary listed on these documents died 3 years ago." I'll never forget the look on my son's face. Color drained from it. The judge slowly removed his glasses. "Is this accurate?" he asked. My son's attorney asked for a recess. Denied. The judge ordered the real notary registry pulled immediately. 10 minutes later, it was confirmed. Fake stamp. Fake signature. Fraud. My sister started crying. My daughter whispered something frantic to her lawyer. My son stared straight ahead. The judge turned to them. "You transferred property, accessed bank accounts, and displaced a medically vulnerable adult," he said. Each word hit like a hammer. "On Christmas." The judge asked me to stand. My legs shook, but I stood. He looked at me directly. "Did you understand what you were signing?" "No," I said. "I trusted them." That was enough. The judge issued a temporary ruling on the spot. All property transfers reversed. All accounts restored. Immediate return of my home. My daughter gasped. My son slammed his hand on the table. The judge banged the gavel. "One more outburst," he said, "and I'll clear the courtroom." Then he said something I didn't expect. "Additionally," he said, "this court is referring this matter for criminal investigation." Criminal. That word changed everything. As we walked out, my daughter ran up to me. "Dad, please," she said, tears streaming now. "We didn't mean it to go this far." This far. I looked at her. "This started when you served me cake and stole my life." She froze. My son didn't say a word. He couldn't. Because the confidence was gone. Outside, the cold air felt different. Cleaner. Lighter. But the story wasn't over. The judge had ordered me back into the house immediately. When I arrived, the locks had been changed. By them. I called the police. 20 minutes later, they stood awkwardly on the porch as officers supervised. My daughter handed over the keys without looking at me. Inside, the house felt violated. Drawers open. Walls bare. Photos missing. But it was mine again. That night, I slept in my own bed for the first time since Christmas. And I slept well. But peace didn't last. The next morning, I received a notice. A civil suit had been filed. By my own children. They were suing me. Claiming emotional distress. Claiming ownership rights. Claiming I had promised them the house. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was desperate. They had lost control. And people who lose control often reveal their worst selves. The final fight was coming. And this time, I wasn't just defending myself. I was taking everything back. The final hearing took place in early spring. By then, the snow was gone, but the damage they had done was still everywhere. Broken trust doesn't melt. It hardens. My children sat across the courtroom from me, no longer confident, no longer dressed to impress. They looked tired. Worried. Their civil lawsuit claimed I had verbally promised them the house, the money, the land, everything. Promises. Funny how promises only seem to exist when someone wants to steal. My attorney stood. Your Honor, she said, there is not a single written agreement, recording, or witness to support this claim. What does exist is documented fraud. She presented the evidence again. The fake notary. The forged timestamps. The bank access logs. The moving company receipts dated before legal ownership. Pattern. Intent. The judge listened carefully. Then my son took the stand. He said they were afraid I'd waste the money. That I was confused. That they were acting out of love. The judge asked one question. If this was love, why did you change the locks? My son had no answer. My daughter testified next. She cried. She said she felt pressured by her brother and aunt. That she was scared. The judge nodded. Then asked her, did you ever ask your father what he wanted? Silence. That was the loudest sound in the room. The judge ruled quickly. Civil case dismissed with prejudice. Meaning, they could never file it again. Then came the criminal part. The prosecutor outlined charges. Elder financial abuse. Forgery. Fraud. My sister accepted a plea deal. Probation. Restitution. My son was not offered one. Neither was my daughter. The judge sentenced them to community service, heavy fines, and court-ordered financial restitution. No jail. But something worse. A permanent record. They would carry that longer than any sentence. After court, they tried to talk to me. I didn't stop. I didn't turn around. Because closure doesn't always come from conversation. Sometimes it comes from distance. I changed my will. I set up a trust. Independent oversight. Medical directives. No family control. I also sold the house. Not because I had to, but because it held too many ghosts. I moved to a quieter place. Smaller. Peaceful. I volunteer now. I speak at senior centers. I tell my story. Not for sympathy. For warning. Because betrayal doesn't always look like anger. Sometimes it looks like cake. Sometimes it sings Christmas songs. Sometimes it calls you, Dad. If you're listening to this and something feels off in your life, trust that feeling. Ask questions. Read before you sign. And remember this. Love doesn't steal from you while you sleep. If this story helped you, or opened your eyes, subscribe to this channel. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from, your city or country, and whether you've ever seen family turn into strangers over money. I survived Christmas. But I lost my children. And that was the real cost.